The legend of the Yamashita treasure begins not with gold itself, but with the rapid and violent expansion of Imperial Japan during the early years of World War II, as Japan pushed across East and Southeast Asia in the late 1930s and early 1940s. Its military forces seized vast territories rich in natural resources, cultural artifacts, and financial wealth. Cities fell quickly, colonial governments collapsed, and banks, temples, museums, and royal treasuries were looted on an unprecedented scale. According to the legend, this stolen wealth was not simply pocketed by individuals, but systematically collected as part of a broader imperial strategy to fund Japan's war effort and future dominance in Asia, as Japanese forces conquered places like China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaya, Burma, Indonesia, and the Philippines. They encountered centuries of accumulated wealth. Gold bullion from colonial banks, silver bars, precious stones, religious artifacts, rare artworks, and even royal heirlooms were confiscated. Many of these regions had served as financial hubs for European empires, meaning their vaults were filled with reserves meant to stabilize colonial economies. The speed of Japan's advance often left local governments unable to evacuate or hide these assets, making them easy targets for seizure under military occupation. The story suggests that Emperor Hirohito's inner circle authorized a secret operation to centralize and control this wealth. Some accounts claim the program was overseen by Prince Yasuhito Chichibu, the emperor's uncle, and involved elite units tasked specifically with locating and confiscating valuables. This operation allegedly went beyond simple war looting and became a carefully organized system designed to extract as much wealth as possible from occupied territories. The goal, according to the legend, was to create a massive reserve of treasure that could secure Japan's future long after the war ended. At first, the stolen riches were shipped back to Japan. Naval convoys transported gold and valuables across dangerous waters patrolled by Allied submarines. However, as the tide of war began to turn against Japan around 1943, these routes became increasingly risky. American submarines sank Japanese cargo ships at alarming rates, making it nearly impossible to safely move large quantities of treasure back to the home islands. Faced with mounting losses, Japanese commanders were forced to reconsider their strategy. This is where the Philippines entered the story in a dramatic way, strategically. Located in the Pacific and heavily fortified by Japanese forces, the Philippines became a central hub for Japan's southern operations. According to the legend, when transport back to Japan became too dangerous, military leaders decided to hide the treasure there instead. The idea was to bury or conceal the wealth temporarily until Japan could regroup, win the war, or retrieve it later under safer conditions. General Tomoyuki Yamashita, later nicknamed the Tiger of Malaya, is the figure most commonly associated with the treasure. Yamashita was a brilliant and feared commander, known for his rapid and overwhelming victories earlier in the war. When he was assigned to defend the Philippines in 1944, Japan's situation had grown. Desperate, Allied forces were closing in. Air superiority had been lost, and retreat routes were disappearing. In the legend, Yamashita became the overseer of the final hiding operation. The story claims that hundreds of hidden sites were constructed across the Philippine Islands. Japanese engineers, prisoners of war, and forced laborers were allegedly used to dig deep tunnels, caves, and vaults into mountains, jungles, and remote terrain. These sites were reportedly reinforced with steel, booby traps, and explosives designed to collapse entrances if disturbed. According to some accounts, workers who completed the tunnels were executed to keep the location secret, adding a grim and tragic dimension to the legend. Maps, coded documents, and symbolic markers were said to guide those who knew where the treasure was hidden. Instead of simple coordinates, the Japanese allegedly used riddles, landmarks, and religious or cultural symbols to mark the locations. This would make the treasure nearly impossible to find without insider knowledge. Over time, stories emerged of strange carvings, stone markers, and underground chambers discovered by locals, fueling speculation that the treasure truly existed. As American forces advanced through the Philippines in 1944 and 1945, chaos engulfed Japanese command structures. Communication lines were destroyed, officers were killed, and many records were lost or deliberately burned. If the Yamashita treasure was real, this period would have been critical. The knowledge of its locations may have been fragmented among only a handful of officers, many of whom never survived the war. General Yamashita himself was captured by American forces in 1945 and later tried for war crimes. During his trial and eventual execution, he never publicly acknowledged the existence of the treasure. This silence has fueled endless debate. Some believe Yamashita knew but refused to speak, while others argue he had no involvement at all and that his name was attached to the treasure simply because of his rank and location at the time. After the war, the Philippines was left devastated. Cities were destroyed, economies were shattered, and millions of people struggled to rebuild their lives. In this environment of poverty and uncertainty, rumors of hidden Japanese gold spread rapidly. For many, the idea that unimaginable wealth lay buried beneath their feet became both a symbol of hope and a reminder of wartime suffering. Treasure hunters began arriving almost immediately after the war ended. Local villagers, foreign adventurers, former soldiers, and professional excavators all tried their luck. Some claimed to have found gold bars, statues, or sealed chambers, while others vanished under mysterious circumstances. Landslides, tunnel collapses, and alleged booby traps added danger and drama to the search, reinforcing the mythic nature of the treasure. One of the most controversial claims surrounding the Yamashita treasure involves allegations that portions of it were secretly recovered by intelligence agencies. Some researchers argue that American operatives discovered parts of the treasure and used it to fund covert Cold War operations in Asia. These claims remain unproven, but they have contributed to the enduring belief that the truth has been deliberately hidden from the public. Former Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos is often linked to the legend. Marcos claimed to have discovered part of the treasure early in his career and used it to finance his rise to power. Critics argue these claims were fabricated to justify unexplained wealth, while supporters believe Marcos genuinely found Japanese gold. The lack of clear evidence has only deepened the mystery. Skeptics point out the logistical challenges of the story. They argue that moving, hiding, and cataloging such massive quantities of treasure during wartime chaos would have been extremely difficult. There are also no verified Japanese records confirming the operation. From this perspective, the Yamashita treasure is seen as an exaggerated wartime myth that grew over time through rumor and speculation. Supporters of the legend counter that Japan was highly organized and capable of complex logistics even under extreme pressure. They note that Japan successfully relocated factories, archives, and military assets during the war, suggesting that hiding treasure would not have been impossible. They also argue that the absence of records could have been intentional, designed to protect the secret. Over the decades, hundreds of books, documentaries, and investigative reports have attempted to uncover the truth. Each new claim reignites public interest, especially when alleged discoveries are announced. Yet almost every case ends the same way: disputed evidence, legal battles, or sudden silence. The jungle terrain of the Philippines adds another layer of mystery. Earthquakes, volcanic activity, erosion, and urban development may have destroyed or buried potential sites beyond recovery. Entire landscapes have changed since the 1940s, making it nearly impossible to know whether any hidden chambers still exist or have been lost forever. For many Filipinos, the legend carries emotional weight beyond treasure hunting. It represents unresolved trauma from Japanese occupation, forced labor, and wartime atrocities. The idea that stolen wealth remains hidden is symbolic of justice delayed and suffering unacknowledged. In this sense, the Yamashita treasure is as much a cultural memory as it is a physical mystery. Modern technology has brought new tools to the search. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and advanced metal detectors have all been used in attempts to locate underground anomalies. While these methods have identified unusual structures, none have conclusively proven the existence of massive treasure vaults. Legal issues further complicate the hunt. Even if treasure were found, questions remain about who would own it. Would it belong to Japan, the Philippines, the original countries it was stolen from, or the discoverers themselves? These unresolved legal disputes discourage official excavations and add another obstacle to uncovering the truth. The secrecy surrounding wartime intelligence operations continues to fuel speculation. Many documents from World War II remain classified or heavily censored, leading some to believe critical information about the treasure has yet to be revealed. Each declassified file is examined closely for any hint of confirmation, despite decades of searching. The Yamashita treasure remains elusive. No single discovery has ever been universally accepted as proof. Yet the sheer volume of testimonies, legends, and alleged finds keeps the story alive. It exists in the space between history and myth, where facts are blurred by time and secrecy. The legend has influenced popular culture, inspiring movies, novels, and television shows. These portrayals often exaggerate the story, but they also introduce it to new generations. As long as people are drawn to stories of lost wealth and hidden secrets, the Yamashita treasure will continue to capture imaginations. Historians remain divided. Some see the story as a classic example of post-war myth-making, while others believe fragments of truth are buried beneath layers of exaggeration. The reality may lie somewhere in between, involving smaller caches of hidden valuables rather than a single massive hoard. What makes the Yamashita treasure especially compelling is its connection to real historical events. The war, the occupation, the battles, and the suffering all undeniably happened. This grounding in reality makes the legend harder to dismiss entirely, even without definitive proof. For treasure hunters, the search is about more than gold. It is about discovery, adventure, and the hope of uncovering a secret that has defied generations. Each failed expedition adds another chapter to the legend rather than ending it. For scholars, the story raises important questions about wartime looting, accountability, and historical memory, even if the treasure itself is never found. Investigating the legend sheds light on the darker aspects of imperial expansion and global conflict. As time passes, witnesses disappear and physical evidence erodes, making the truth harder to uncover. Yet paradoxically, the mystery grows stronger. The absence of answers keeps curiosity alive, ensuring that the Yamashita treasure remains one of the most debated legends of the 20th century. In the end, the Yamashita treasure stands as a symbol of war's hidden consequences. Whether it is a vast underground fortune or an exaggerated myth born from chaos, its story reflects humanity's obsession with lost riches and unresolved history. Until undeniable proof emerges, the Yamashita treasure will remain buried not just in the ground, but in the collective imagination of the world.